Trump's briefings were meant to show him in charge, but now they're just, like absurd. Um, Trump says that the country is doing great in a pandemic that just infected its 4 millionth U.S. victim and is killing 1,000 people a day, which in my eyes is not good at all. But his claim is based on a brazen competence trick requiring Americans to ignore his responsibility for the spike in the southern and western states, as he claims credit for the success of the northeastern states that suppressed the disease after not heeding his advice to reopen before the virus was under control. And that might not even be the most outrageous thing this fake president has said at his third briefing in as many days. Um, the fake president, after months of mocking mask wearing and social distancing guidelines, trolled for credit and claimed he was setting an example after deciding to cancel the Republican conventional events in the COVID battered Florida, though deeming the situation too dangerous to hold a quadrennial political showpiece. He nevertheless insisted that it was perfectly safe for children to go back to school full time in a few weeks' time. Um, Trump used northeastern states like New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, which lowered their infection curve, with strict stay-at-home orders as part of a misleading argument that much of the U.S. is free of the virus. What he didn't mention is that those states succeeded because they ignored his call to reopen. Um, that's really very much indicating where the problems are. 45 said the fake president Trump said, referencing a map showing less virus penetration in the Northeast and Central Plains states where fewer people lived in across the Sun Belt. You see from that it's in great shape. Lots of it. Trump said the Northeast has become very clean. The country is in very good shape, other than if you look south and west. Some problems. That's all that works out. The fake president said. States that disregard scientific advice to satisfy government benchmarks on reopening, many led by the pro Trump nut-licking governors, and that backed him in 2016, like Texas, Florida, and Arizona, are now in the middle of a COVID-19 nightmare. Florida, for example, registered 10,249 new cases and 173 additional deaths on Thursday, breaking the previous record of 156 deaths on July 16th, according to the state's Department of Health. Trump also complained that a dozen European countries and Taiwan and South Korea were sending their kids back to class, and America wasn't, ignoring the fact that those places had competent central governments that beat back the virus properly. Trump, however, failed to provide the leadership and nationwide testing and tracing system that might make a resumption of school a viable proposition, along with the full reopening of the economy. The United States currently has more infections and deaths than any other nation right now. This isn't about politics. This is about something very, very important. This is not about politics. Trump said about his return to school push after months in which politics and not science appeared to be the primary driver of his response to the worst domestic crisis since World War II. Still, if Thursday's erratic half-hour briefing did not provide medical clarity, it did offer some insight into the fake president's electoral thinking. His decision on his convention acceptance speech that he had previously demanded should go ahead and had moved from North Carolina after officials said it was not safe made one thing clear. He finally understands that his denial and neglect of the pandemic gravely threatens his re-election chances. It is also becoming obvious that Trump's return to the White House briefing room has nothing to do with the genuine new tone of providing solid information to the American people, following complaints that he was not sharing the stage with medical experts like top coronavirus task force member Deborah Birx sat to one side on Thursday, wearing a mask, but was not called upon to speak. Several times in an appearance that took place as deaths raced towards the 1,000 mark for another day. Trump had paused to hero worship former New York Yankees pitcher Mariano Rivera, who sat in staff seats adjacent to the fake president, and he was not wearing a mask. Trump responded to a question about whether he canceled the Jacksonville event, and that it showed that he was pushing openings too fast by announcing he would throw out the opening pitch of the Yankees game in August. I've never seen a pitcher throw a ball where so many bats were broken as Mariano. He's got the all-time record, Trump added in remarks that showed his lack of focus and seriousness behind the leadership in the pandemic. The briefings have turned into a theater of disinformation in which the fake president hypes any positive development, like progress on vaccines, but yet he ignores the terrible and rising human toll of the pandemic and offers highly misleading information about its seriousness and likely duration. Basically, his comment was it's going to come and go, which not really. And well, when you look at what happened in New York and what happened in New Jersey and other places, and now you're looking at it and it's gone. I hope it stays gone. Trump's upbeat assessment contrasted with warnings of his own coronavirus task force members on Thursday. Dr. Anthony Fauci, using a baseball metaphor on opening day of the truncated Major League Baseball season, said at a briefing hosted by the TB Alliance that we are not winning the game right now and we are not leading it. But Deborah Birx privately told a group of state and local health officials on Wednesday about a concerning rise in coronavirus cases in 12 different cities, even as Trump laid out a more scripted, optimistic message. Democrats decided weeks ago that it was too inappropriate, given the national emergency, to hold a full nominating convention to anoint the former Vice President Joe Biden as their candidate, but Trump has long insisted that his moment would take place before a big crowd and mocked his rival for planning a virtual convention, so his claim that his decision to cancel showed great leadership was a stretch. It's really something that, for me, I have to protect the American people. That's what I've always done, that's what I've always will do, and that's what I'm about. No, you're not. You're exact opposite of what you're claiming, you fucking fat fuck. Trump claimed that his staff counseled him on that convention could go ahead easily, but that he told them that he was elected to help and protect. No, you weren't. Trump's campaign is likely to react to criticism of the entire convention saga by saying that reporters who criticized him for going ahead are now slamming him over the cancellation that the fake president cannot win, because he won't. But the notion that the fake president all along cared most about the American people is belied by the fact that for weeks he downplayed the threat posed by the virus to the United States, and then pushed for states to reopen up, but prematurely before it was vanquished. Until this week, when the political damage wrought by his indifference became even more obvious, the fake president all but ignored the worsening crisis. We have to be vigilant, we have to be careful, and we also have to set an example, which you're not doing. I think setting the example is very important, Trump said in a deeply ironic remark given his previous attitude. Yeah, he doesn't give a shit, though. We already know that. One source familiar with the situation told CNN Thursday that the fake president had been watching increasing numbers of the Republican lawmakers announcing that they would not come to the convention speech in Jacksonville, which has turned into a coronavirus hotspot in recent weeks. The prospect of a disappointing crowd at the televised event would have been deeply unpalatable to the fake president, who was embarrassed and ridiculed for the poor attendance at his comeback Klan rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma last month. The fake president also had redoubled his demands for schools to reopen in a move that could help revive the economy, and it was vital to his re-election and foster a sense of normalcy. He needs to argue he led the country out of the fire. He asked Congress to provide $105 billion to help schools reopen in a new stimulus bill currently being negotiated on Capitol Hill. But the fake president also said that the school districts that don't open up should be deprived of such funding, setting up another clash with the Republicans in Congress, who do not agree with such steps. He said the unused money would go to the parents to let them decide whether to send kids to the private or charter schools. We cannot and definitely stop 50 million children from going to school. Trump said reopening our schools is also critical to ensuring parents can go to work and provide for their families. While he did allow that some schools in hotspot areas might need to stick with distance learning for a time, the fake president completely underplayed the fears of parents who are desperate for their children to get back into the classroom, but they also worry that they could bring the virus home. Schools are a vital lifeline for less well-off children who rely on them for proper meals, and those who have family problems at home, often first spotted by teachers. Even so, multiple school districts and governors across the country have decided, multiple school districts and governors across the country have decided not to follow 45 the fake president 45 or Trump's warnings because they cannot guarantee the safety of kids in already crowded buildings, or fear that mass gatherings like a normal school day will unleash new centers of infection. But Trump did speak about how children have very strong immune systems, and rightly said that the incidence of kids with complications from the virus is very low. But government health experts like Fauci and Dr. Robert Redfield, director of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, have said that they do not yet know to what extent the children and drivers of infection, to what extent the children are drivers of infection in the home. One recent study in South Korea found that while children younger than 10 transmit the disease much less than adults do, those of the middle school and high school age are likely to spread the virus as adults. Such data suggests that sending older children back to school could seed new centers of infection and put teachers and ancillary staff at high risk. But the new CDC guidelines issued Thursday said that no studies are conclusive, but the available evidence provides reason to believe that in-person schooling is the best interest of students, particularly in the context of appropriate mitigation measures similar to those implemented at essential workplaces, such as the pressure that Trump has exerted on government scientists and experts of all kinds to bolster his personal goals. The recommendations will never be free of the taint of the politics. So if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, Ryan Van Wyk, and also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And thanks for listening.